Just stay with us for a second, won't you? Because some of the most contentious claims are that the US is conducting covert operations in the Middle East, and that some of these, whether deliberately or not, are supporting Sunni extremists who, in the long run, could seek to attack the US and its allies. The article claims some of the US aid to Lebanon has fallen into the hands of radical Sunni groups, a claim Prime Minister Fouad Seymour was quick to deny. His office issued a statement saying the report's contentions were totally unfounded. The article also claims this covert US policy is benefiting the staunchly anti-American Muslim Brotherhood in Syria, with much of the direct funding coming from Saudi Arabia. The article also alleges that private Saudi citizens are directly funding Sunni insurgent groups in Iraq, a theory supported by the Iraq Study Group and the International Crisis Group. Well, let's go back to Seymour Hersh now there in Washington. You say that in Lebanon, the Prime Minister Fouad Seymour is supporting some emerging radical Sunni groups to buffer the effect of a Shia Hezbollah, but Fouad Seymour has denied this. So what do you say to your critics?
Well, look, it's not as simple as there's a piece of paper showing that the United States is coordinating with the Seymour government in Lebanon to underwrite. There are three jihadist groups, Salafi groups, Wahhabi groups, if you will, out of Saudi Arabia, that the International Crisis Group have said, everybody knows these three groups are in Lebanon. The International Crisis Group has publicly reported that there are connections between some members of these groups and the training camps in Afghanistan, the famous, Al-Qaeda training camps. There's no sign of any direct contact with Osama bin Laden, but that these groups exist is real. What's also known is that a great deal of unappropriated, that is, money not appropriated by the U.S. Congress, a great deal of what we call sort of loose black cash. Obviously, some of it could have come from Iraq. My friends inside the government believe it has. Cash that's on hand that was collected after the fall of Iraq, and as you know, billions of dollars have gone missing there, as many as $10 billion, $8 or $9 billion for sure. And some of this money has been floating into various clandestine programs run by the Pentagon, not by the American CIA. Some of it's been mingled with a great deal of money by Saudi Arabia. Prince Bandar, the former ambassador here, who's very close to Dick Cheney and the President of the United States, George Bush, has been underwriting quite a bit of this too. And all you can say is there's an awful lot of American money flowing into various groups that are anti-Nasrallah, Hezbollah. The goal here is to stop the Shia, the spread of the Shia influence in Lebanon. The Shia influence is pretty much largely in control of Nasser Nasrallah, the head of Hezbollah, and which is in a political struggle with the Seymour government. And so this money comes, it's hard to track it, there's no vouchers for it. It gets into the internal security apparatus of the Seymour government, largely Sunni, and ends up being spread over into the jihad groups who will get arms and equipment from this cash. Is there a direct connection between America to the American money to Seymour to these groups? No. Is there a steady flow of money that isn't traceable? Yes.
Let's just stay with the Saudis for a minute, because I want to ask you, how significant is the Saudi involvement and how concerned are they about the rise of Shia-dominated Iran's influence in the region?
Well, all you have to do is listen to what they say. King Abdullah has said it publicly. The most outspoken person in the issue among the moderate Sunni states in the Middle East, I'm talking about Egypt, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia. King Abdullah II of Jordan has talked publicly about a Shiite crescent. So there's a lot of nervousness. The Saudis, of course, are nervous about the Shia because their eastern province, where most of the oil is also where the bulk of the Shia community live inside Saudi Arabia, where a lot of the radical activity, anti-government activity originates from, so the Saudis believe. So Prince Bandar, in a reprise really of what happened 20 years ago in the famous Iran-Contra scandals here in America, Prince Bandar is playing a huge role, a back channel role with the Bush administration in trying to overcome Shia Iran, doing something about Bashar Assad, he's an Alawite, he's not a Sunni. For some reason, Saudi Arabia and the United States, I don't know why the Saudis are so hostile to Syria, but they are. And of course, in Lebanon, the game is to stop Hezbollah. In return, and there is a quid pro quo for the Saudis, they got to have the conference on Mecca. They got an agreement between Hamas and Fatah that both the White House and the Israelis don't like at all. but that was their payback, that they could try and do something to resolve the Palestinian crisis. They needed something out of this deal, and that's what they got.
Now, you say in your article that this new policy redirection will bring the US closer to open conflict with Iran and widen the Sunni-Shia split. So why would the US want to pursue this course? Can you just wrap that up for us?
You know, it's a great question. Why does the White House, in the middle of a failing war in Iraq, and when we've actually bet on the wrong horse, we're in bed with the Shia in Iraq, and who are not probably good, the Maliki government probably has much more affection for Iran than for anybody in America. One friend of mine, somebody I know high up in the military, described it as failing forward. By that I mean this White House they've got a year and a half, 2 years, less than 2 years to stay in office. They want to come out with something, some sign of success, something to show, some tangible evidence that they've done something to help America. I will tell you this, George Bush, I don't know that much about, none of us in the press do. I know more about Cheney. I have access to people who meet with him. Cheney believes, absolutely to his core, that Iran, regardless of what the intelligence community says, Iran has or will soon get a nuclear bomb. Cheney also believes that Hezbollah has enormous contacts, cells, if you will, inside America. Cheney believes, and he has said so inside the White House, that when Iran gets a bomb, they will give it to Hezbollah, and they will have the capability to set it off, a nuclear weapon or a nuclear device, dirty bomb or what you will, in New York and Washington. Those are the cities he mentioned. In other words, for this president and this vice president, the issue here is defending America. I don't necessarily think it's predominantly about oil or predominantly about protecting Israel. They really think America's at stake here. The fact that there's no intelligence for what they say and the community disagrees means nothing to them. They know best.
All right, Seymour Hersh, we have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.